So now I'm going to import the assets into our project so that we can start to construct our scene. I'm going to drag in a Windows Explorer window here, and you can see in the window that we have 3 assets to import. Now these assets are included in the project files and can be found in the Assets to Import folder. We have 2 textures here and 1 mesh file. I'm going to marquee select all 3 of these files and drag and drop them into the project panel here in the Unity interface, and all of these mesh files are now dropped into the scene. You can see here we've got a ball maze mesh, and you can see from the preview pane that a material or a texture hasn't been applied to that yet. It's just a blank model. You can see it's our maze model. Beneath this we have the floor mesh, which is a checker pattern. It's 256 by 256 pixels, and we are going to apply this to the floor of the level. Now further down here we have a texture map that is going to be applied to our ball maze mesh, and we also have this materials folder here which contains this material. Now we did not import this material manually. This material was generated for us and is applied to this ball maze mesh. So we have these assets that we've imported here, and I want to just tidy up the organization here in the project panel by arranging these assets into folders. To do that, I'm going to click the Create button here on the project panel, choose Folder from the context menu. I'm going to create a folder for meshes. I'm going to create a second folder for textures, and I'm going to create a third folder for scenes here. I'm going to, actually you can see the scenes folder is a child of the textures folder. I don't want that, so I'm going to drag it out of the textures folder. Now I can start to drag and drop my assets into their appropriate folders. So we've got this marble maze scene here. I'm going to drag and drop that into the scene file. We've got this ball maze here. I'm going to drag and drop that into the textures. This floor into the textures, and this ball maze mesh is going to be dragged and dropped into the meshes folder. And now we have a much cleaner organization of our project panel. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to start to drag and drop my assets into the scene. So I'll open up the meshes folder and drag and drop the ball maze mesh into the scene. Ensuring this object is selected, I'll press F on the keyboard to frame it in the viewport. You will notice that the object appears completely black. Now your viewport may not look like that. Your object may in fact be shaded using some kind of default shading. If it is, don't worry, this is absolutely fine in either case. Shortly our viewports will match up when I add a light to this scene. So I've added this object here to the origin, this ball maze mesh. Actually it's not at the origin, so I want to move over here to the object inspector. You can see here that this object is not at the origin. I want to set it to the origin, so I'm going to change all of these values to 0, 0, 0 to position this at the world space origin. The other thing that this level needs is a floor. Now I did not import a floor mesh. I'm going to create one manually using the basic primitives that Unity provides. So I'm going to move up here to the Game Object menu, choose Game Object, Create Other, and I'm going to select Plane from the menu. And now we have this plane here in the scene. I'm just going to drag this downwards a little to match up to act as a floor plane here. So that's looking about right here. That looks fine. I'm going to, right now we can see that this is far too small. So I will scale this up. I'm going to switch to the Scale tool by pressing R on the keyboard, and I'm going to click and drag to scale out the floor here, and that's beginning to look much better.